The summer sun baked the Kansas fields in waves of golden light. Dust curled around the feet of 12-year-old Ethan Merrick as he wandered the edge of his grandfather's land, a place that had always seemed endless. It was the kind of day that made everything shimmer, where even old barns seemed to exhale the heat in visible breaths. Ethan wasn't looking for adventure. Not really. He was mostly trying to avoid another afternoon of chores. The chickens were pecking at each other again, and the air inside the farmhouse smelled like paint and pickles. Out here, among the waist-high grass and whispering trees, it felt like another world. Then he saw it. Half hidden behind a stand of elderberry bushes and choked in kudzu vines, there was a shape that didn't belong. A curve of metal, the glint of chrome where the sun pierced through the leaves. Ethan parted the branches and took a step back in surprise. It was a car, or what was left of one. Rust clung to every edge like moss. The roof was buckled, and the windows long gone. One headlight dangled, its glass cloudy and sad, but the grille still smiled faintly, and the sweeping fenders hinted at something once beautiful. There, beneath the grime and age, he saw the faded blue badge, Ford. Ethan reached out, brushing dirt from the hood with the sleeve of his shirt. He didn't know much about cars, but something about this one. It felt important, like a relic from a forgotten time, like a secret meant just for him. He clambered up on the cracked running board and peeked inside. The leather seats were split and dry, filled with mouse nests and leaves. The steering wheel was huge, twice the size of anything he'd seen. And there, in the dashboard's dusty center, was a little metal plate. 1949, Ethan read aloud. His heart thumped a little harder. He could see it all in his head. The car, new and shining, rolling down a blacktop road with the wind in his face and the radio playing something wild and fast. He imagined himself gripping the wheel, the engine growling like a lion waking up. Someday, he whispered, placing a hand on the steering wheel. I'll fix you up. We'll ride again. The rusted car said nothing, but in Ethan's mind, it roared. Ethan came back the next morning, just after breakfast, with a flashlight, a notepad, and a peanut butter sandwich in his backpack. The sun hadn't yet burned off the morning dew, and the grass soaked his shoes as he walked the familiar trail past the cornfields and the sagging barn. He pushed back the brush around the car like it was a curtain hiding a stage. There it was again, his car. That's how it felt now. His. He crawled inside the old Ford, careful to avoid the nest of what looked like very active spiders in the backseat. The steering wheel still turned, stiff but alive, and the gear shift moved with a satisfying click. Ethan imagined what it would be like to drive. Just him, the road, and the wind. No chores, no math homework, no shouting voices, just freedom and motion. He pulled out his notepad and started to draw. He wasn't much of an artist, but he tried to sketch the dashboard, the seats, the exterior shape. As he traced the lines with his pencil, he felt something stir, like the car itself was beginning to wake up, remembering what it once was. That night at dinner, he couldn't keep quiet. "Grandpa," he said between bites of fried chicken, "what's the story with the old Ford behind the barn?" His grandfather, a tall, lean man with white hair and grease-stained hands, paused mid-chew. "The one by the elderberry bushes?" Ethan nodded. "Thought that thing was long buried in vines," Grandpa said, pushing his plate back. "Haven't seen anyone near it in years. That was my daddy's car, your great-grandfather's. He bought it in 1949. Brand new. He loved that machine. What happened to it?" Grandpa leaned back, eyes narrowing with memory. "Wrecked it in 52. Nothing fatal, thank the Lord. But the front end got all smashed up. He parked it behind the barn, meant to fix it up. Never got around to it. Years passed, and then, well, time has a way of making plans fade." Ethan took that in slowly. "Can I fix it?" A long silence followed. His mother shot his grandfather a warning look, but Grandpa just scratched his chin. "Fix it? Son, that car's been rotting out there for decades." "I know," Ethan said, "but I want to. I think I can." Grandpa studied him for a moment, then gave a small, crooked smile. "You've got his stubborn streak, that's for sure. Tell you what, if you're serious, we'll take a closer look this weekend. But it's not just play. Fixing up a car like that takes time, tools, and know-how. You in it for real? Ethan nodded without hesitation. All the way. That night, he lay in bed with his notepad, copying parts diagrams from an old car magazine he found in the attic. He didn't understand most of what he was drawing. Distributors, carburetors, timing chains. But it didn't matter. In his dreams, the Ford wasn't rusted anymore. It was polished black, chrome shining like a mirror. He sat behind the wheel, the engine rumbling beneath him. As he drove into the sun, he could almost hear music playing from an old AM radio, something wild and full of promise. By Saturday morning, Ethan was ready. He wore old jeans and his dad's torn flannel shirt, now 2 sizes too big. Grandpa met him at the edge of the barn with a toolbox and 2 thermoses of lemonade. They worked all morning, clearing brush, pulling vines, lifting the hood, which groaned like it hadn't moved in years. Underneath was a mess of metal, rust, and nests, literal nests, from a very territorial squirrel family. "Well," Grandpa said, wiping his brow, "she's rough, might be a corpse, but let's not call the funeral just yet." Ethan tried to match his grandfather's calm, but his chest ached. The engine was a block of rust, wires chewed to bits, hoses crumbled to dust. "Can we save it?" Grandpa gave a slow shrug. "With enough time, anything's possible. You're gonna need parts, tools, maybe a miracle or 2. Ethan started small. He scrubbed the interior, pulling out moldy seat cushions and sweeping away decades of dirt. He took pictures with a borrowed camera and brought them to the library, comparing what he found to books on restoration. Most of it was over his head, but he made notes, watched videos at a neighbor's house, and checked every salvage yard ad in the town paper. When he talked about the car at school, his friends rolled their eyes. "It's junk," said Caleb, a classmate with a shiny dirt bike and a constant smirk. "You're wasting your summer on a pile of scrap." Ethan didn't answer. He just went back to work. He saved every dollar he could. He mowed lawns, cleaned chicken coops, and even babysat the Miller twins, 2 tornadoes in toddler form. Every weekend, he was back with the car, learning which bolts would come loose, which ones needed soaking, and how to identify the parts that were truly beyond saving. Sometimes, he sat behind the wheel and closed his eyes. He imagined his hands on the gear shift, the rumble of ignition, the smell of oil and leather. He didn't know when or how, but he would drive this car someday. He would bring it back to life, even if it took forever.